Do you know what I was thinking? I just want that simple, human kind of exhaustion from victories. Not all of this.
You will be so proud of your country, because we will turn the tide and start winning again. And we will win, again and again. We will win on every front. We will win economically. We will win in the military domain. We will achieve victory in healthcare and in support for veterans. We will win in everything. You will be winning so often that you'll start begging, please, give us a break from all these victories. It'll feel unbearable. Mr. President, this is too much. And I'll say, no. We must keep winning. We must win more. We will win. We will win in everything.
Hello, my name is Kateryna Solyar, and there will be no usual countdown of time because here, as in a vacuum, only one time is frozen. 24 hours left, which are about to end. Another day has passed, and once again, the ceasefire wasn't observed. Today marks exactly 1 month since Russia rejected Ukraine's offer of a full or even temporary ceasefire, an initiative supported by the United States. And what do we have instead? From March 11th to April 11th, Russia launched nearly 70 missiles of various types, over 2,200 Shah drones, and more than 6,000 guided aerial bombs against Ukraine. A full month of Putin supposedly wanting to stop killing Ukrainians, because that's what he told Trump. But he just can't. Maybe that's why Witkoff flew to Putin, to ask again, just to be sure. Really? I can't believe this.
The death of these innocent Ukrainian civilians is painful, but it will not be in vain. This shows the entire world, and I hope it convinces the President of the United States, that Ukraine unconditionally accepted the ceasefire, while Russia continues killing civilians. This creates a moment of ethical and political clarity, who truly wants peace, and who wants war. And based on my conversations with senior US officials, it's clear that America's patience is not unlimited and is gradually beginning to wear thin. Putin is trying to buy time, escalate tensions. But sooner or later, and likely sooner, within weeks, the United States will shift its policy, finally recognizing what most of us already know: Putin does not want peace.
The only thing that doesn't sit right with me is this: sooner or later. Biden also said the US would stand with us, for as long as it takes. We need that support now. But so far, we're not seeing new aid from the United States. And I truly hope the key word in that sentence is, so far.
The Trump team, on the other hand, is showing a willingness to compromise. Hegseth is coming to Ramstein. The US, which once swore off these meetings, and Hegseth himself said they'd boycott Ukrainian sessions of Ramstein, is now attending. And that's great, and we like it, because even Biden understood that Trump would give up Ramstein, and they say, let's let NATO lead this Ramstein. Even if the US exits NATO, there's still a European NATO, let them handle it. Because this platform is crucial, for Europe, for Ukraine, and for the entire world. And we see now that Hegseth's team, and the Trump team more broadly, understands, it's better to be present, to help, and to have a hand on the controls, rather than walk away and hand Russia the advantage in negotiations. Because Russia will say, we're strong here. We don't need anything from you. You left. We didn't ask you to go. Hegseth's actions show a shift in attitude, a willingness to meet Ukraine halfway, to move past previous rhetoric. We support that. We appreciate that. We actually really like it. And that is a small victory for Ukraine. We should not think that this is all, the war is over, we have won. But it is a small victory. And let's be honest, even small wins like this were rare before. For the first time, we've slightly changed the attitude toward us. It's a small win, but it's crucial, because it could be the beginning of a long road to big victories. Trump signed an executive order accelerating the process of foreign arms sales. And that makes us smile. We turn the page. Russia's in for a surprise.
And let me remind you, just recently, President Zelensky gave us a glimpse, not of Lukashenko-style cards, but of the ones Trump himself once called unwinnable. He shared some details of their latest phone call. It was about Lend-Lease, about Ukraine purchasing weapons, about 20 air defense systems to shield our skies, and about weapons that allow us to speak to Russia from a position of strength. Because right now, Trump's situation with Russia is starting to look like the one he had with sanctions. At first, he wanted to handle it his way, and then he realized it would end badly. The idea was to punish the entire world with sanctions. But instead, US stock markets started to crash, and two of his ministers had to come in and explain that you can't trust so-called invented experts. We'll come back to that. And now, the same applies to Russia. You can't play footsie with Putin, hoping he'll compromise. Because if you do, he'll climb right on top of you. And while Moscow keeps claiming the US, unlike Europe, wants to get to the root cause of the conflict in Ukraine, the US is already working on a plan to hold Russia accountable for breaking every promise it ever made.
The United States says it has just one condition, just one, and that is a freeze. They've finally realized that Russia is dragging them into its endless string of manipulations. So now the message is, look, first a freeze, then we'll talk about everything else. Because Russia keeps pulling everyone into negotiations, into embassies, into oil talks, into geopolitics, asking what to do about Poland, what to do about the Baltic states. That's why the White House press secretary came out and said clearly, first, freeze the fighting, stop the war, stop killing civilians. Because you're striking Sumy, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Kyiv. And just yesterday, ballistic missiles hit Dnipro. Only after that can we sit down and talk, because right now it just feels like you're playing games. Let me remind you, the Americans gave Russia a deadline, April 17th. Now, apparently, it's being pushed slightly, to the end of the month. But the message is clear, it's decision time. If not, there will be sanctions. And Trump is promising harsh ones.
That's why US senators now want to confiscate 200 oil tankers, seize the oil aboard, and redirect the proceeds to support efforts against Russia. Meanwhile, Lavrov claims that contacts with Trump's team show there's a basic understanding that dialogue is necessary, that a negotiated approach is possible. Moscow, he says, will work to restore direct air travel with the US. Direct flights, well, they already exist. Look, Witkoff has arrived once again. Last time, you might remember what happened. Putin kept him waiting in the lobby for 8 hours, while he wined and dined Lukashenko and told wild stories about Russian spacecraft exploring distant galaxies. After listening to that, Lukashenko declared that within 3 to 4 years, they would surpass Mercedes.
No Mercedes for the next 3 to 4 years. Doesn't matter, we'll catch up. Maybe even overtake them.
Just a reminder, a few days ago, Avtovaz announced it was halting production of the Lada Granta due to overstocked warehouses and plummeting demand. April 25th will be the final working day for Granta production. After that, staff will be paid just 2/3 of their wages. Interestingly, earlier this year, that very model, the Lada Granta, was declared the best-selling car in Russia for March. So someone's lying. I just can't figure out who. But let's get back to Witkoff. Apparently, his schedule didn't align with Putin's, again. Witkoff landed, but Kremlin press pool journalists reported that Putin was off on a regional trip. Where exactly? The Kremlin didn't say, so it's not guaranteed the meeting will even be in Moscow. Witkoff might once again have to wait while Putin visits another poultry farm or inspects freshly renovated restrooms at a fertilizer plant. Reports say Witkoff came with just one question for Putin: how much longer will this war go on? Previously, we heard April 17th was the psychological deadline. Now they're saying Putin has until the end of the month to decide what he really wants: friendship with the United States, or continued bloodshed in Ukraine. And it is precisely that question where the United States and Russia find themselves in the sharpest and most direct confrontation. According to Axios sources, Trump has grown frustrated by the lack of progress in negotiations in recent weeks. He even said that at some point, he'll get so angry he'll impose sanctions on Putin himself. If there's no ceasefire by the end of the month, Trump may trigger additional sanctions. Either through executive authority, by asking Congress to pass new legislation, or by any means necessary. After all, he is the president of the most powerful country in the world. Any scenario is on the table for him.
And we'll find out soon, within weeks, not months, whether Russia is serious about peace. I hope they are.
Last week, Witkoff already met with Russian representatives, specifically Kirill Dmitriev in Washington, who spoke about investment and, of course, air travel.
This air travel is supposed to follow the removal of sanctions on Aeroflot. That proposal was first made over a month ago during the meeting in Riyadh. The Americans seemed open to it. But so far, we've seen no reciprocal steps. Just yesterday, however, the talks in Istanbul wrapped up, and as you mentioned, our experts once again raised that same proposal.
So, once again, while Ukraine agreed to Trump's proposal for an unconditional ceasefire, and later accepted a scaled-down maritime ceasefire plan, Russia once again put forward a list of new demands, including the lifting of some U.S. sanctions. However, as Peskov said, no major breakthrough should be expected from the Putin-Witkoff conversation.
No. 1 hour, 2 hours, 4. As long as President Putin needs.
And what about Trump? Trump accused Putin of stalling.
Russia must act. Too many people are dying, thousands each week, in a horrific and senseless war.
And for the first time ever, although he placed the blame on Putin, Trump made no mention of Ukraine at all during his remarks. So, not tired of winning yet? Sure, Trump's not easily rattled, but in the US, there's talk of launching an investigation against the president over suspected market manipulation. The allegation is that he first tanked the markets, then told everyone to buy stocks, and rolled back tariffs afterward. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff has called for an investigation into possible insider trading by Trump following his decision to suspend tariffs, which caused a sharp spike in stock prices. On that day alone, the world's wealthiest individuals gained $304 billion. This is the largest one-day gain in the history of the Bloomberg Index. Trump boasted that his friends made a fortune, including Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos. The market surged 7% after Trump announced the suspension of tariffs for all countries except China. Senator Schiff believes this may have been manipulation. Still, since Republican-led committees would have to initiate any investigation, no serious action is expected anytime soon. And no, the US stock market hasn't exactly stabilized, because tariffs against China are still increasing. But what's most interesting isn't how high those tariffs are, it's where Trump even got the idea in the first place. And here's the twist. The idea of tariffs was suggested to Trump by Peter Navarro, a man Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, discovered on Amazon. In an attempt to lend credibility to his ideas, Navarro referred to a so-called economic expert by the name of Ron Vara, a fictional character he had entirely invented himself. And no one in Trump's circle ever questioned it or checked who this so-called expert was. During Trump's first presidential campaign, he had no economic advisors. So, he asked Kushner to find one.
Trump handed him a draft of his economic views and told him to look for someone. Kushner went on Amazon and came across a book titled Death by China, co-authored by Peter Navarro. He was intrigued by the title, picked up the phone, called Navarro, a well-known trade deficit hawk. And Navarro agreed to join the team as an economic advisor.
So where did Navarro get the idea that tariffs were good policy for America? What arguments did he use? He kept referring to an expert named Ron Vara. Vara appears in several of Navarro's books dating back to 2001, including Death by China, the same book Kushner found on Amazon. After Trump won the election and became president, members of his administration even received a policy memo from Ron Vara promoting tariffs as a new trade strategy for the U.S. The memo asserted that Trump could, quote, ride the tariffs all the way to a decisive political victory. But there's just one small, inconvenient detail. Ron Vara was never a real person, he never actually existed. The economic expert Navarro constantly cited to explain his obsession with tariffs was entirely fictional. In fact, Navarro invented him, as a made-up authority to legitimize his books. Ron Vara is nothing more than an anagram of Navarro's own name. If you simply rearrange the letters, you get Ron Vara. So this is how a fake expert, writing fake analysis from a fake email account, was used to convince people that tariffs were a serious topic backed by real economists. Now, why am I telling you this story about tariffs when we're discussing Russia and Ukraine? Because it shows the kinds of advisors who may be influencing Donald Trump, and why his words or actions toward Ukraine sometimes appear illogical. Still, it is possible to work with Trump, and necessary. In fact, we've already seen two small victories. Experts say the US did participate in the latest Ramstein meeting, and Trump signed an executive order to speed up weapons sales to other countries. And the third, Witkoff traveled to Russia once again to ask Putin the uncomfortable question, are you planning to end the war? Because if not, then what happens next, and whether the United States transitions from mere words to concrete action, we will likely find out within the next 24 hours. The countdown has already begun and time